Let me open up my new slide so that we could move towards class activity. Okay, Ji. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is my class activity. This class activity will provide you a complete and comprehensive information regarding calculating elasticity of demand, or maybe it can be extended for calculating elasticity of supply as well, right? So let me read out the questions for you people so that you could have a complete understanding about the lecture or about the class activity. The following relations describe demand and supply conditions in the music instruments market. Uh, Let me add one more column over here for for justifying my statement so that you could just have a complete picture about the example. The first column, the second last column shows quantity demanded for guitar. This shows quantity supplied of guitar, right? Initially, suppliers were supplying around 150 units maybe when the price is 25, and when price has increased, they have increased quantity supplied from 150 to say 250, right? So the following relations, yeah, this can be further updated as following information regarding demand and supply for music instruments is provided, right? Use this information to answer the questions which are given after the table, right? Okay, the first question is calculate point elasticity of demand with respect to price for guitar at point B and interpret your results. Okay, the term here comes is point elasticity of demand. what what do we mean from this particular term? We have understood what is elasticity of demand. We know that it is a ratio of percentage change in quantity demanded to the percentage change in price, but we have not read about point elasticity of demand. So from point I mean that we are looking to find out the value of elasticity of demand at any specific point upon a demand curve. For example, if you draw a demand curve upon a graph paper, you would have multiple points upon the demand curve. At each point of that demand curve, the elasticity of demand will change. So at each and every point we can find out the value of elasticity of demand, right? So this point elasticity of demand is finding elasticity of demand upon any specific point of a demand curve, right? So when you plot a demand curve, upon that demand curve we may have three or more, like 4, 5, 6 points upon a demand curve. Say we have a point A upon a demand curve, and upon that point if I would like to find out the elasticity, that elasticity will be called as point elasticity of demand. So what is point elasticity of demand? Finding the value of elasticity of demand at one specific point on any demand curve. This is called point elasticity of demand, right? तो ए पॉइंट इलास्टिसिटी का कॉन्सेप्ट बड़ा क्लियर है कि आपने किसी एक स्पेसिफिक पॉइंट पर इलास्टिसिटी जब भी कैलकुलेट करनी होगी, यू विल ऑलवेज यूज द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ पॉइंट इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ डिमांड, राइट? तो अब आपकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग और सहूलत के लिए मैं ये ऐड करता चलूं, अभी तक जो हमने प्रीवियस लेक्चर्स के अंदर अंडरस्टैंडिंग डेवलप की है वो एक्चुअली हम पॉइंट इलास्टिसिटी ही कर रहे थे. अभी रीसेंट एग्जांपल आपके साथ इलास्टिसिटी क्रॉस प्राइस इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ सप्लाई की डिस्कस की, उसमें भी मैंने पॉइंट ए रिप्रेजेंट किया. तो वो बेसिकली किसी एक पॉइंट को रिप्रेजेंट करके कैलकुलेशंस करना दर हकीकत वो पॉइंट इलास्टिसिटी कहलाता है, ठीक है? तो पॉइंट इलास्टिसिटी कोई यूनिक कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है, हम ऑलरेडी इसको कर रहे हैं, लेकिन अब सिर्फ नाम यहाँ जाहिर कर दिया है, ठीक है? So calculate point elasticity of demand with respect to price for guitar at point B. अब यहाँ nominate कर दिया गया है, पहले चूंकि nominate नहीं किया गया था क्रॉस प्राइस इलास्टिसिटी के केस, इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ सप्लाई के केस में, that is why we took the point A as the point, right? But here we have identified, or we are being told by the questioner, examiner, that you need to find out the elasticity of demand at point B, right? So when we are going to find out elasticity of demand at any specific point, then that elasticity will be called as point elasticity of demand, right? The question 2 tells us calculate income elasticity of demand. The third question tells us about cross price elasticity of demand. The fourth one is about arc, fifth one is about arc, and sixth one is about arc, right? Firstly, we will be discussing the three parts. Then I'll be moving towards arc elasticity of demand with respect to price, income, and cross price, right? Okay, let me add the difference between point and arc elasticity over here. That the point elasticity is finding out the value of elasticity at one particular point upon a demand curve. But for example, if we have more than 1 points upon a demand curve, say there are 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 points. Now it is up to you whether you would like to find out elasticity between the 2 points, between the 3 points, between the 4 points, or between the 5 points. This is up to you. So when you are looking to find out elasticity of demand's value at more than 1 points, like you say you have point A and B, if I would combine these 2 points, then in between there will be 1 point, say A plus B divided by 2, there will be in between, say if A is equals to 2, B equals to 3, right? So both, if I add both the points, then the value should be 5. 2 plus 3 equals 5. The in between should be 2.5, right? So what I'm looking to tell you, the concept of arc elasticity of demand, we always use arc elasticity in that situation when we are interested to find out the value of elasticity between the 2 points, or between the 3 points, or between the 4 points, or more, right? So more than one, for more than 1 points, if you are looking to find out the value of elasticity, there comes the concept of arc elasticity. But when you are looking to find out elasticity at any specific point, then that elasticity will be called as point elasticity. And if you would like to find out elasticity between 2, between 3, or more than 3 points, this will be called as arc elasticity, right? Similarly, arc elasticity can be found for demand and for supply as well. Point elasticity can be calculated for demand separately and for supply separately, right? Okay, let me answer the question number one, then two, then three, and I'll move towards four, five, six accordingly, right? So that we could have a complete picture of the concepts of elasticity of demand and elasticity of supply. Here comes the solution. The first point, price elasticity of demand or elasticity of demand with respect to price. We would like to answer this question, right? Let us write out let us discuss its definition first. The ratio of percentage change in quantity demanded for guitar to the percentage change in price of guitar at point B is called as price elasticity of demand at point B or point elasticity of demand, right? However, the point elasticity of demand could be found in a situation when we are interested to find elasticity at any given point on a demand curve. I've already explained it earlier. Or in case when we would like to find elasticity at each and every individual point separately. Say we have plenty of points upon a demand curve, and for each point, the value of elasticity will be different. If I would like to find out the value of each individual point, the value of elasticity for each individual point upon a demand curve, the concept will be used of point elasticity of demand. Then we will use the point elasticity of demand to find our answer. Okay? So the formula of elasticity of demand at point B within bracket price. So we are finding elasticity of demand with respect to price. The B shows point B. It is equals to percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. The formula is that the percentage change in quantity demanded can be written as delta QD over QD divided by delta P over P, right? Okay, so here QD, with QD we have point B, and with price we have point B. Why we have points B? Because we are told that we have to find out elasticity of demand at point B. That is why we have mentioned these quantity demanded and price at point B. By simplifying the formula, the right hand information, the right hand fraction can be like I've already explained it in detail, that the division sign can be converted into the sign of multiplication. Then the denominator should become numerator, and numerator of the fraction can be converted to denominator. So the division sign has been replaced with the multiplication sign. The price B divided by delta P, it should be written as, and the entire fraction can be converted to delta QD over delta P multiplied by price at point B, quantity demanded at point B. Okay, then elasticity of demand at point B with respect to price can be written as, let me highlight this formula. The simplified formula can be written as delta QD over delta P multiplied by price at point B divided by quantity demanded at point B. Okay, as we know that delta QD equals the difference between the quantity demanded at 2 points, which is delta QD equals QD at point B minus QD at point A. Quantity demanded at point B is given, say, 150, and quantity demanded at point A we are given it is 200. What about price of guitar? It is 30 at point B, but it is 25 at point A, right? So here comes quantity demanded at point B, it is 150, but it is 200 at point A. The difference between 150 and 200 is minus 50. Okay, Ji. So 150 minus 200 equals minus 50. Then delta P should be the difference between price given at point B minus price given at point A. The price at point B is 30 and price at point A is 25. The difference is plus 5, right? So we have calculated delta P, we have calculated delta Q, which is minus 50, right? So now substituting the value of delta QD and delta P into the formula of elasticity of demand with respect to price, this is the formula. Let us substitute the value of delta QD, it is minus 50, and delta P's value is plus 5. So minus 50 divided by plus 5 multiply by price of guitar at point B is 30, right? And quantity demanded at point B is 150. Just look at this information. At point B, the price of guitar you could see is 30 and quantity demanded for guitar is 150. So into this formula, this 30 and 150, the term, the fraction that I've just highlighted, 30 represents price of guitar at point B and 150 represents quantity demanded for guitar at point B, right? So the fraction should be 30 over 150. Then we can simplify this fraction as 50 into 30 becomes 1500 and 5 into 150 becomes 750, or okay, 50 into 30 equals 1500 divided by 5 into 150 is equals to 750. So by solving this particular question, 150 divided by 75, so the answer should be 2, minus 2, right? So price elasticity of demand at point B is equals to minus 2. The answer of elasticity of demand with respect to price at point B is found to be minus 2, which shows that if price of guitar increases by 1%, then quantity demanded for guitar decreases by 2%, right? So when price of guitar increases by 1%, quantity demanded for guitar would decrease by 2%. Why the direction is opposite? Because if you would look at the sign, which is negative, This negative sign is showing that the relation between price of guitar and quantity demanded for guitar is negative. That is why the direction for price and quantity demanded is inverse. Moreover, the absolute value of elasticity of demand at point B with respect to price is found to be 2. Since I've highlighted the term absolute value, that is why the answer is plus 2, right? Which is greater than unity but less than plus infinity. Here I must write absolute value of elasticity of demand with respect to price at point B is greater than plus 1, but it is less than plus infinity. Therefore, there exists more elastic relation between price of guitar and quantity demanded for guitar. Got my point? Okay. Then there comes question number 2 into this class activity. It is calculate income elasticity of demand for guitar at point A, identify the kind of good and interpret your result. So we have to find out income elasticity of demand for guitar at point A, right? So let us move towards the concept number 2. It is income elasticity of demand or elasticity of demand with respect to income. Initially, we will discuss its definition. The ratio of percentage change in quantity demanded to the percentage change in income is called as income elasticity of demand or elasticity of demand with respect to income, right? So this is the same definition that we have already discussed in case of income elasticity of demand, right? So I've just copied the same definition from there over here. Then there comes the formula. It is elasticity of demand. We have to find out elasticity of demand at point A, and the elasticity of demand should be with respect to income. So elasticity of demand at point A with respect to income equals percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in income should be equals to delta QD over delta QD over QD at point A divided by delta I over I at point A. Then the same process should be followed. We have to convert this divide sign into multiplication sign. Then the same process will be carried out by converting denominator into numerator and numerator into denominator. So delta QD over QDA should remain as it is. Then division sign, this divided sign, this sign of division is converted into sign of multiplication. Then this denominator IA is converted to numerator as IA over here. And this delta I, which is numerator over here, has become denominator into the new fraction, which is delta I. This implies that delta QD over delta I multiplied by IA over QDA. So the formula for income elasticity of demand at point A should becomes elasticity of demand at point A with respect to income equals delta QD over delta I multiply by IA over QDA. Okay, let's start handling our question solution. As we know that the formula for income elasticity of demand at point A is EDA within bracket I equals delta QD over delta I multiplied by IA over QDA. Whereas delta QD can be found by taking the difference between quantity demanded at point B and quantity demanded at point A, which is 150 minus 200 equals minus 50. And the delta I can be found by taking the difference of income at point B and income at point A. Income at point B, let's move towards the table. Income at point B is 8,500. It is given. First, let us just remove this highlighted information. This is income at point B, which is 8,500 rupees. Sorry, $8,500. And this income, it is $9,500 at point A. Okay. So income at point B is 8,500 rupees dollars minus income at point A is $9,500. So 8,500 minus 9,500 equals minus 1,000, right? So we have obtained delta I, we have obtained delta QD. Now let's substitute these informations into the formula of income elasticity of demand at point A, right? So now substituting the values in the formula, this is the formula. Instead of delta QD, we have substituted its value, which is minus 50. On place of delta I, we have substituted its value, which is minus 1,000. Multiply by income at point A is $9,500 and quantity demanded at point A is 200 units, right? Then in the next step, what we have done, 9,500 divided by 1,000, right? The minus and minus becomes positive. Then there comes a sign of multiplication. Then this 50 comes here and the 200 can be written over here. So 50 over 200 has been taken into one fraction. 9,500 and 1,000 has taken into another fraction, right? So these two zeros can be cancelled out with these two zeros. So it should be 95 divided by 10. It should becomes 9.5, right? Multiply by 50 ones the 50 and 54s the 200. So it here comes 1 by 4, right? So when we divide 9.5 upon 4, the answer should be 2.375. Let me calculate it right away again. 9.5 divided by 4. It is 2.375, right? So income elasticity of demand at point A is 2.375 and it is greater than 0, right? Why I've written greater than 0 over here, I'll be explaining it right after few seconds. The answer of income elasticity of demand at point A or elasticity of demand with respect to income at point A is found to be 2.375, which shows that if income of a consumer increases by 1%, then quantity demanded for guitar will be increased. Since the sign is positive, that is why by increasing the income, the quantity demanded for guitar has also increased, right? The positive sign is showing this. If income is increased by 1%, then quantity demanded for guitar will be increased by 2.375%. Since the answer of income elasticity of demand at point A is positive, meaning that greater than 0, therefore consumer is consuming normal goods. There are three types of goods like normal, inferior and Giffen. But when income elasticity of demand is positive, a good is always called as normal good. But what if the income elasticity of demand is negative? At that case, the good is said to be inferior. There is a special class of an inferior good, which is Giffen good. We will be distinguishing between inferior and Giffen good by looking at its price elasticity. For Giffen good, the price elasticity of demand is always positive, but for inferior goods, it is always negative, right? So inferior and Giffen goods have negative income elasticity of demand, right? But they can be differentiated to one another by looking at their price elasticities. So when the price elasticity of demand is positive, we will always consider that product as Giffen good. But the good for which income elasticity of demand is negative, but price elasticity of demand is also negative, that product is called as inferior good. So inferior good has two definitions. The good is said to be inferior good if price elasticity of demand for this good is negative, and income elasticity of demand for this good is also negative. But if income elasticity of demand for a good is negative and price elasticity of demand for a good is positive, then that good is called as Giffen good. And what about normal good? A product is said to be normal good if price elasticity of demand for a good is negative, but income elasticity of demand for a good is positive. Then the good is said to be normal good. Okay. So after understanding the concept of normal, inferior, and Giffen goods, let us consider our case. In our case, income elasticity of demand is greater than zero, meaning that we are consuming normal goods since income elasticity of demand is positive. Moreover, the value of elasticity of demand with respect to income at point A is found to be plus 2.375, which is greater than unity but less than plus infinity. Therefore, there exists more elastic relation between income of a consumer and quantity demanded for guitar. Here comes the concept of income elasticity of demand. It is completed here, and right after this I'm gonna move towards the question number 3, which is calculate cross price elasticity of demand for guitar at point A, identify the type of good, and interpret the result. Let's move towards question number 3. Cross price elasticity of demand, or elasticity of demand with respect to price of related good. The definition is the ratio of percentage change in quantity demanded for guitar to the percentage change in price of mandolin. Okay. As earlier, I've just discussed the cross price elasticity of supplies case. Over there, I've just let you know about that how we can calculate cross price elasticity, right? So why we call it as cross price? Because we are talking about the demand or supply for one good and the price for the second good. So the the price is not for a direct good, right? It is the price of a cross product, right? It is the price for the second product, not for the same product. That is why we call it as cross price, right? So here we have a demand for guitar, but the price for mandolin. So these are the two different musical instruments. Guitar is something else, is a separate product, and mandolin is a separate product. So we are talking about the impact of price of mandolin upon the quantity demanded for guitar, right? So in this case, we are basically using the concept of cross price elasticity of demand. The ratio of percentage change in quantity demanded for guitar to the percentage change in price of mandolin will be called as cross price elasticity of demand, or elasticity of demand with respect to price of related good. The formula can be written as cross price elasticity of demand, or elasticity of demand with respect to price of related good. Okay, price of related goods equals percentage change in quantity demanded. It is quantity demanded for guitar, like good one, and percentage change in price of related good, like the price of second good, right? The formula can be written as, for percentage change in quantity demanded, we can write it as delta QD over QD at point A divided by percentage change in price of related good can be written as delta PR divided by PR at point A. Why we have mentioned point A over here? Since we are asked to find out elasticity with respect to price of related good at point A. Look at this question at point A. Okay. That is why we are basically mentioning, or we are basically sharing, that we have to calculate cross price at point A. Okay. Now further simplifying the formula by following the previous procedure that I've already explained, that the sign of division should be converted to sign of multiplication. Then the formula should become delta QD over QD at point A multiplied by PR at point A divided by delta PR, or delta QD over delta PR multiplied by PR at point A and divided by quantity demanded at point A. The simplified form can be written as delta QD over delta PR multiplied by PR over QD at point A. Solution. Now, after discussing the definition and formula, now let's solve the question. As we know that, what do we know? We know about the formula that it can be written as elasticity of demand with respect to price of related good equals delta QD over delta PR multiplied by PR over QD at point A. Delta QD can be found by taking the difference of quantity demanded at both points, QD at point B minus QD at point A. 150 minus 200 equals minus 50. This is similar as we have found in the previous cases. Delta PR. PR is the price of related good, which is the price of Madeline. PR at point B minus PR at point A. Okay, 30 and 35. How do we know about it? Let's move towards price of Madeline. Price of Madeline at point A is 35. Price of Madeline. This is basically price of related good. Look at this information, right? Let me write here for you guys. This is PR, price of related good. At point A it is 35 and at point B it is 30. So 30 minus 35 should be minus 5. Okay, here comes. Delta PR equals 30 minus 35. It is equals minus 5, right? So we have obtained the information for delta QD and delta PR. Now substitute these informations into the formula, which is delta QD over delta PR multiply by PR over QD at points A, right? We have found delta QD as minus 50 and delta PR as minus 5 multiply by PR at point A is 35 and quantity demanded at point A is 200, right? Now let's simplify this information. 5 ones the 5 and 5 tens the 50. So 10 over 1 should be written into this fraction and into the initial fraction, and minus minus can be written as plus, right? Minus into minus equals plus. Then there comes a sign of multiplication. Then 5 sevens the 35 and 5 40 the 200, right? So it becomes 7 over 40. So 7 tens the 70 and 41's the 40. So 70 over 40 can be written as 7 over 4, or it can also be written as 1.75, but the sign is positive. Okay, so elasticity of demand at point A with respect to price of related good is found to be plus 1.75, right? It is also, let me just update it as, it is also greater than 0. So let me interpret its meaning. by saying that the answer of cross price elasticity of demand at point A or elasticity of demand with respect to price of related good like guitar, sorry, like mandolin. What is the related good? It is mandolin. At point A is found to be plus 1.75, which shows that if price of related good like price of mandolin increases by 1%, then quantity demanded for guitar then quantity demanded for guitar will increase by 1.75%. Why it should increase? Because if we look at the form answer, and the answer is plus 1.7, the plus, basically the sign plus shows that there prevails a positive relation between price of mandolin and quantity demanded for guitar, right? When price of mandolin is expensive, the users of mandolin will also switch towards the consumption of guitars, right? So ultimately the demand for guitar will increase, since the number of consumers into guitars industry will increase, since the users of mandolin has also switched from mandolin's consumption to the consumption of guitars. That is why the guitar's consumption has increased. Ultimately the quantity demanded for guitar has increased. So at the one side we can observe the increase in the prices of mandolin has a positive impact upon the quantity demanded for guitars. So we can conclude that guitar and guitars quantity demanded and price of mandolin has a positive relation to one another. So look at this particular understanding. So when price of mandolin has increased by 1%, then the quantity demanded for guitar is increased by 1.75%. Since, look at this statement, since the answer of cross price elasticity of demand is positive at point A, or it is greater than 0, therefore both guitar and mandolin are substitute goods. As I've explained you earlier that the goods are said to be substitutes if the cross price elasticity of demand for such good is positive, but cross price elasticity of supply for such good is negative, right? So two goods are said to be substitutes if cross price elasticity of demand for such goods is positive. So into our case, the cross price elasticity of demand is positive 1.75, which is greater than 0. Moreover, the value of elasticity of demand with respect to price of related good like price of mandolin at point A is found to be plus 1.75, which is greater than unity but less than plus infinity, right? So plus elasticity of demand at point A with respect to price of related good, it is less than plus infinity, but it is greater than plus 1. Therefore, there exists more elastic relation between price of mandolin and quantity demanded for guitar. Here I'm finished with the first three questions, and then there comes a concept of arc elasticity of demand. I'll be discussing the concept of arc elasticity of demand in the next class. I'm done with my lecture. If you have certain queries regarding today's lecture, you could raise your hand and I'm here to answer your questions. Thank you very much for today's lecture.